Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock, and our first committee meeting of the day is the Planning and Economic Development Committee. Those committee members are Fusco, Kamer, Connor, Boyes, and Hannah. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Fusco, so Councilman Kamer will be chairing today. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the opportunity. And all members are present except for Councilman Fusco, and we did hold a meeting last week. Can I get approval of those minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We have a few new pieces in front of us, but we do have a piece that's a substitute offered as an amendment, and I'll ask Sarah to read that in for the record, please.
Sure. This is on the regular agenda as item number 11, and you'll see the substitute offered as an amendment as listed as item number 0 under new legislation. That's a substitute offered as an amendment, an ordinance authorizing a certificate of appropriateness to demolish the former Firestone headquarters at 1200 Firestone Parkway and declaring an emergency.
All right, thank you, Sarah. And what I'll do is I turn it over to Kyle from the Planning Department. You're going to present on this, Kyle, right? Okay, and then he can brief us on where we're at and what we're doing moving forward, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Chair, members of Council. So as you know, we have a substitute ordinance in front of you here that addresses our appeal of the decision of the Urban Design Historic Preservation Commission to deny a certificate of appropriateness, which would have allowed us to demolish 1200 Firestone and take advantage of that demolition grant. In conversation with councilmen and other members of council, we have proposed a moratorium that allows us to explore some other options perhaps, see if there's some way that we could position it for redevelopment. But absent that, then at the end of the 60 days, we'll either have a plan to repurpose the building or we'll be able to proceed with the demolition.
All right, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that. And I got a couple questions before I call on anyone else, but I first of all, I want to say thank you to Kyle for coming to my community meeting last week that I had at the Firestone Park Community Center. He was part of the conversation with the councilman, something that I hold monthly, and it was a really good discussion, so I appreciate you attending that last week and being there to answer questions and talk with the residents. I also want to thank my colleagues for, numerous colleagues for their support in regards to Firestone Plant 1. And it means a lot to me that have your support and you folks are looking out for Akron's history. With that, I do have a few questions, and we'll start with one. Kyle and I briefly talked about it earlier, but I want to kind of, get it on record that I would encourage the planning department to come back to City Council within 30 to 35 days in front of the Planning Committee, and obviously, hopefully, Councilman Fusco will be here then and give us an update on where we're at in regards to this piece of legislation.
We'll certainly do that.
All right, thank you. What avenues are we going to take to put this out there, let folks know, nationally? Is there like websites out there that we can put this out on the mayor's Facebook page, our website, anything like that to try to draw that attraction?
Well, we have re-engaged with a few specific individuals with background in this type of property, so that's the first thing.
Okay.
And then, as far as publicizing this, I mean, the discussion that we've been having all summer has garnered national interest, right? It's been discussed. So, and we've actually had people reach out based on that. Okay. But we have not had a chance really to talk through that specific process because this all emerged Friday after the close of business day.
Okay.
So we're still working through what that looks like, to be honest. But we'll figure out a way to make a good faith effort to see what we can what sort of opportunities we can develop in that regard.
No, I appreciate that, and I'll respect that process. One thing that come to mind is like what we've done with the former APS administrative building. Obviously, we put that out there. It made headlines, and I would like that kind of conversation in regards to this Firestone plant. But I'll let you, continue down the road that you're working on now without, getting too far ahead. My final question for now, before I turn it over to see if anybody else has any questions or comments, is just paint a scenario like what happens if a really good developer or someone of interest would come forward towards the end of that 60-day period, like if it's the 58th day. I mean, but we're talking about, they have to put together a good plan, good conversation, reliable background, et cetera. I mean, what happens then?
Again, we haven't mapped out entirely the whole process, and I don't want to speak one way or the other about the specifics of that. I would have to kind of make sure that we're up against we're between a rock and a hard place here.
Okay.
Because the grant is there, but it's not there forever.
Right.
And this is a large building. It's been a very significant problem for Ufrency's team, Mr. Lash's team, for the city fire and police. And so, I think we're just trying to balance all those interests, recognizing the historical significance of the building and also the troublesome nature of it.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to be evasive.
No?
We have not really huddled on what the process is going to be yet.
Okay. No, well, one of the options, as I sit here, and I appreciate that, and then, I do support this, but then there's a little me that should say, should I not support it if we're not really going to aggressively put it out there and exhaust all avenues? And I understand you potentially might have conversations with folks right now, but
Not potentially. It's already been
Okay.
happening. We've
All right.
already had conversations with a credible developer,
Okay.
brought him through the building.
Okay.
So-
No, I got you. I just want the same exposure for this as I believe that I've seen from the APS building that I've recently seen all over the newspapers and stuff. So I appreciate that.
I would just point, there have been efforts, those kinds of efforts in the past to put the building out there. So, there have been significant efforts to find a developer in the past as well. So, this is-
All right. No, I got you. The past is past, and we got to move forward. Clock is ticking. All right, Councilman Handa.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Chair. My first question is, why did the city not think about repurposing this building before you came to the council and wanted to demolish this building? Also, how much time do we have before we make a decision? Because you did bring up the fact that you were getting some additional funding to demolish this building. How much time does the city have before this money is taken off the table?
So I'll take that second question first. And we've received the grant through the intermediary of the Summit County Land Bank. And so we've been told that we will need an extension on the grant as it is, because it's going to take longer than the end of the year to get it down. But that if we have significant progress underway, that we will be able to get that extension. And so in order to have significant progress underway, the 60 days is about what we can afford to give the building in terms of delay before we have to make the decision about how to proceed. So there's that. The question about consideration for reuse of the building, That's been considered for 12 years now. Efforts have been in place to try and figure that out. There was a development agreement in place with the developer that did develop the Triangle building, the Russ Pry building. They backed out. Additional efforts were made, an RFP was issued, a developer stepped forward with a plan that involved uses that were not allowed under the environmental covenants that the Ohio EPA put on the property. So that didn't go forward. And then we brought another developer through last year, and that didn't develop any or lead to any interest. When we looked at this after we were notified at the beginning of last year that we were awarded the grant, internally we had a discussion among city staff. You know, are we missing something? Let's see if there's something else that we can do in order to salvage that. And that's where the plan to salvage the front bay only of the building, the portion that's visible from Main Street. That's where that came through, and then we put out hired the engineer to come up with the plan, what would be needed in order to salvage that. That's when we put that out to bid. We put the two options out to bid: demolish the whole thing or salvage the portion of the front that's visible. And that's when we discovered that, or learned that the cost to salvage just the front of it would be significantly more than we had. So we've been really looking for quite some time, previous administrations and this administration's, at options to find another use for that building.
Well, I support my colleague's ordinance. It should be corrected that on Part 2 of this ordinance, it says the purpose of legislation, it says authorize a certificate of appropriateness to demolish the Beacon Journal building at 1200 Firestone Parkway.
That is in the UCR, and I have a corrected version here I got this morning, so it might not be showing in your iPad yet.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Good catch.
Thank you, Councilman. I do see Councilwoman Boyes has her hand raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some of my questions were along the lines of my colleagues, but Kyle, you mentioned an RFP several times. Has there been a new RFP issued based on the use of the front section or the repurposing of the front section of the building only? Or are there old RFPs out there for folks who may be interested in this property to be able to refer to? It seems like we've got a little bit of time, 2 months, to Mr. Cameron's, Councilman Cameron's question, it seems like enough time to get something physical out there so folks know exactly what they're looking at.
We would have to put together, what that, the specs, sort of, the details on what would be available for the front or the whole thing. Both options, I guess, would be put out there. The thing to keep in mind is that, with the front, someone would have to have a plan in place that would allow us to recoup a good chunk of the extra money that it would take to salvage just the front. But again, we're working through how we're going to publicize this.
Understood. Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I could follow up. Sure. So, and you may be a little bit like, I may be ahead of the horse here, but, have we decided what, it seems like we're saying the city shall proceed in one breath, but viable redevelopment plans identified. And that seems like a little bit of a, I won't call it wishy-washy term, but open to interpretation. So, what are we going to be requiring of folks before the 60-day period is over exactly?
Well, one thing we don't want to do is commit to a project that requires us to invest a lot more money. Yeah. Someone might say, I'll take it off your hands, but you have to continue to secure it, and you have to give us, a commitment of millions of dollars for this or that, so that, that's where that evaluation of economic and economic viability and reasonableness comes in. It's not some, you know, there are certain things that we'll have to, where we would evaluate and say that's not feasible. So there needs to be an interpretive process, yes, in terms of like what proposals come forward and how we determine if that's something that is in the best interest of the city as a whole.
Thanks. And just, you know, I don't want to belabor the point, but, you know, identified versus in place, you know, are we asking them for a pro forma, you know, a study of how this is going to work before we say yes? I'm just trying to figure out like how hard of a deadline this is.
You go ahead. Do you want to?
Councilwoman, I can chime in a little bit about the legislation. So you're correct. There is some built-in room for some discretion here. That is the case. The November 21st, the 60-day deadline, is a hard deadline. And to be clear, what council is doing in approving this legislation is it is issuing the certificate of appropriateness for demolition to proceed. That is what this body would do today if that were how you voted. However, there are guidelines in place. One is, obviously, we're giving 60 days that no demolition will proceed for that amount of time, and the administration is here today to actively represent the city council that it will pursue during that time frame any viable options that it sees to move forward. What the administration is not willing to do is to unreasonably risk the loss of, you know, an unprecedented amount of demolition proceeds from the state to remedy what has been, and again, this is in no way pejorative, but has been a blight in that area. This is a vandalized property. It is very, you know, problematic for a lot of different reasons, and so we're not willing to jeopardize that money. So we would need a plan in place that is legitimate and/or some type of assurance. Could be some type of bond, it could be some type of letter of credit that would somehow ensure that the city is not going to lose $7 to $8 million from the state of Ohio. That is something the administration is not willing to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Councilwoman Connor?
Let me just ask a clarifying question. It's going to take about a year for this building to come down, is that correct? It's roughly?
10 months.
Okay, so if we demo the building behind Building 1 and get started on that, could that give us a longer amount of time to deal with the front building? Can we start the demo on the back without disturbing the front so we can get the project going and yet still have the potential to repurpose the Building 1 with the clock tower?
Possibly. Please.
Thank you. I'm Travis Capper, city engineer. That is our goal right now. We're continuing with all the asbestos abatement. We started that last week. So our plan is to continue that through the whole building. So no matter what you do with the building in the long run, you need it abated. Then demolition, when we're cleared to start that, it would be from the back. So I guess in the future, whatever we come up with, if it's half the building comes down, all the building comes down, none of it comes down, at some point here in the future, when we started, it would be from the back and moving towards the front. So it would give you more time at the front, whatever we're going to do with that front bay to, you know, to address that.
I think some of the consternation that you hear is because people don't understand the environmental covenant that's part of it. And the reason why is that they saw, you know, some other adaptive reuses of other buildings that had similar uses prior to. It might be fruitful if you could maybe, you know, talk about that, because like the residential part, whatever, those weren't allowed. So it limits your options. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The property was taken through what's called the Voluntary Action Program in the 2010s as part of that collaboration with the Ohio EPA. And with that, there's a remediation plan, and then with that, if the EPA is satisfied with the remediation plan, then they determine what the range of uses that'll be allowed in the future. And then there's a deed restriction that's placed on the property that outlines those. For this particular property, given its past use as an intense industrial site, a number of underground storage tanks that were present in the property, soil contaminations, et cetera. The determination was that future uses would be limited to uses defined as industrial or commercial. And by commercial, they mean warehousing, that type of commercial, and explicitly saying nothing that is residential in nature, nothing that is healthcare in nature, childcare, schools, those types of things. And then, in the environmental report that was included in that, that was prepared by a third party, said that, uses that, where children would not be exposed to soils, right? So there is a pretty tight constraint on future use as it stands right now.
I think that's important for people to understand, because residential is basically you drew a line through that. Schools, you drew a line through that. Healthcare facilities, you drew a line through that. I don't know what that leaves you with and what people have asked you for them to look at, but maybe a couple of things that could be done, maybe you could tell what that is too, but maybe you don't get those as often.
An industrial use, as a factory would be an eligible use of the building moving forward. But the building and the way it's laid out, the ceiling heights, the spacing of the interior supports and things like that really don't lend itself to 21st century industry. And so there's a mismatch there between just the structure itself and that use.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kyle, can we talk some numbers again to refresh my memory at least? To demolish the building costs how much?
7.5, right?
Yeah, about 7.3 million to demolish everything.
To demolish everything,
The
okay.
full structure, yeah.
We'll go 7.5. And then if we weren't going to do that and save the tower, that reduces, or there's a cost to save, right? So
Yeah, we had the bid package asked for the cost to save the front bay, the entire length of the building that you can see from Main Street, and that was an additional $5 million, the bid, on top of the 7.5.
thank you. So now we're at
And that's
12.5.
Yeah, and just to be clear too, that 7.5 included $2 million of that was locals, that was our dollars.
2 million was our dollars?
Yeah, that was the local match, right? So regardless, we've got $2 million in local funds into this.
And we're getting this grant that only lasts a couple more months. And how much is that worth?
It's 7.5 or 3. I can't-
Well, the grant itself is five.
Oh, sorry.
Five, that's right.
Yeah.
Because 2 makes it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I hear what you're saying. I appreciate all my colleagues here with the questions. I'm, definitely learning a lot. And I know from Mr. Lash's departments, this has been a property. I've got some stats from the Akron Police Department where the calls for service have just exploded, especially in 2024 with 87 calls. And this year already, it's 61 calls of different types of vandalism or, suspicion, burglary, whatever. So, I'm just trying to balance that all in my mind. But, yeah, so this certificate of appropriateness gives us 2 months, or maybe gives you 2 months to even explore even further everything that you've done the last, I heard, maybe 10, 12 years, trying to get a suitable buyer, if you will. Is that right? That's what this certificate of appropriateness is going to do? It's just kind of like another 2 months of
Yeah.
something that you
We would,
seem to be already have done in the past.
we would, make a good faith effort to engage with developers and see if someone, wants to step in and try and do something with the building, yeah.
Right, okay. Very good, thank you.
Councilman, I'll go back to Councilwoman Boyce, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just kind of reflecting back on some emails I know that my colleagues and I have gotten from folks in the public, and I know, Kyle, I've shared this with you as well. Some are questioning the demolition bids that we have gotten and what needs to be included in them, and what things might jeopardize historic tax credits, et cetera. During this 60-day period, have we thought about rebidding these things at all, just to make sure that we're not missing anything? Are we confident that, the things pointed out are irrelevant to this? Because I know multiple folks that are in the architecture field, et cetera, have brought this up to multiple of us on council, and I just want to get some clarity on that.
Well, I know one of the things that was brought up was the need to brick up openings, right? And so, one thing we're not going to do is have a vulnerable property out there, one that's easily broken into, so that we continue to have these calls. I think that, if we're looking at the bids for saving things and trying to find savings, I think we're really working around the margins there. I don't think we're going to have significant reductions in any way that would, make that salvage piece comparable to the entire demolition.
I know the roof was included in the skylights. I guess that was a point that gets brought up often, that actually removing those things or changing the roof out would jeopardize historic tax credits on the project. And that was a fairly significant cost. Can you speak to that at all?
Do you remember the cost to remove the skylights on this?
Yeah, we did, on saving the front bay, we did have a cost in there to replace the roof, just because, if we were going to keep the front bay, we should try to envelope that and keep the weather out. If we are going to keep the front bay, we'd probably have to look at some things in there for, if somebody was going to develop that with historic tax credits, maybe there are some things we would want to save that we don't have scoped out right now. So we would have to look at that when we'd make the decision on if we're keeping that or not.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that that was part of the discussion, because I know there's a lot of folks interested in that part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So Kyle, let me get this straight. So the front portion of the building, not the back bays, that will never be zoned or qualify for residential?
Yes, correct.
Correct. Okay. So I see some of my colleagues, they have asked some good questions. I want to thank them for asking these questions, especially Councilwoman Connor and Boyce. I'm going to ask the law department. So, I understand the past and how we've spent some money, and there's something I'd rather not even say, but I'm going to ask the law department. So originally, the current legislation that we had before this amendment, we had until Thursday to make a decision, correct?
No, that is not correct. My understanding is that based on the timing in the code, that today is the day that council must vote.
Today's the day, okay.
Correct, under 31395. So it's within 15 days of the public hearing, the council shall take a vote. So that's kind of the language from the code.
Oh, okay.
Oh, was it? Okay. So whatever 15 days from the 11th was, my understanding was that that was today. So,
No, let's find that out before I ask my next question. Or as you're looking, I mean, it seems like, you know, we have until, if it is today, we have until this evening to potentially add, you know, I agree. I don't think we should add too much more to this, but we could even add another 15 or 30 days. I'm just going off with what I'm hearing from my colleagues, and I could be totally wrong and not observing what they're saying. So where are we at, Brian?
yeah,
Sarah?
so the way I would interpret that, if the public hearing truly was on September 11th, then it would look to be, the decision must be made before Friday.
Before Friday.
So this evening would be the last time council is meeting, obviously convening before any special meeting would need to be called.
Right.
Yeah.
So moving forward, if my colleagues wanted to, we could call a special meeting on Thursday, let's just say Thursday, and then we would have to make an amendment to this because of the date that is specified in this. I'm not saying I'm for that, I'm just trying to ask questions.
Yes, I'll tell you that the November 21st date that appears in Section 2 of the revised legislation in front of you was 60 days from today. So if you were voting Thursday to retain the 60 days, that date would move.
That date would have to be moved? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be November 25th, 24th.
If I might, you know, moving that date out, it makes it that much harder for us to work with ODOD and on this grant as well. So this is, you know, that is a major factor here. We do need to keep in mind that there's an outside party that has an interest in getting those funds spent. And so, and we would need to preserve that option.
Well, one of the things too, Kyle, that I didn't hear today is that concrete commitment or promise from the administration that and I understand we've been supposedly in the administration, the former administration, the current administration has been discussing this for a while now, but I don't hear that conviction today or that promise that we're going to go out there and really just put this out there, and then when that deadline comes, it comes. And I understand that, but I don't hear that today. I really don't. I don't. I mean, it's almost like what I hear, and I don't want to offend nobody, but we're going to pass this and this gets thrown in the bottom drawer. And I understand that that's hard to say, but that's what I want, us to potentially make history by repurposing this building and saving history, or moving forward and clearing the land and providing an opportunity for the future for other development.
Well, I would think that with that, the fact that we've already brought a developer through is a signal of our good faith here. Right? I don't want to, I don't know exactly what the process is going to look like, right? But there will be a process, and we'll make a good faith effort and share that process and the outcomes with you. Let me huddle with my colleagues for 1 minute.
So Brian, back to your question, and I'll take Tina Boyd's question, and I'm done. I'm hopefully done. But so if we had a special meeting on Thursday, we would just have to bring in a new piece with a different date. It would say basically.
Well, all I could say is it's based on a 60-day extension, so it doesn't
Right.
have to change the date. I mean, if you know, November 21st, still, I mean, you're still talking, as Mr. Julian mentioned, there's ongoing active talks with a particular developer who has somehow come and shown interest
Yeah.
after, you know, essentially decades of no interest. But You know, there's a due diligence process, there's environmental reports that are imperative for that due diligence. So the answer is, you do not have to change the date. November 21st would still be fine, but that is based off of today.
Right.
So if you moved it to Thursday and you still wanted an additional 60 days, though I don't know if that's really necessary, given that we've already started that process.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Councilwoman Boyce?
I'm sorry. One more question. So this is pertaining to section 3, where it says, however, should the exploratory period expire with no legally or financially viable redevelopment plans identified, the city shall proceed with full demolition. I mean, is it possible to change the shall to may? Because it feels like, you know, I think what folks are really looking for is a little bit of flexibility on your side, because you're receiving all the interest, you're gauging all the interest. If something's close, okay, but it's not necessarily viable until, to Councilman Kammer's point, till the next week later. Like, would the word may proceed? Would that allow us to have a little more time? I mean, you still have full authority to do demolition, I would think, but that may allow for a little more flexibility should we be close.
Yeah, Councilwoman, so I would suggest this, that regardless of may or shall, City Council cannot direct the administration and its action. You can empower it and authorize it to spend funds. And here there's a process in place for overturning of an appeal from Urban Design's denial of that certificate. And that's what council's authorized to do. I think the language here is somewhat precatory in that sense. So to me, it could be replaced, but it really doesn't matter either way. Just to be open and honest with you all, I don't believe it legally has any import. But I do think that what is important, again, is I believe that the commitment here from the administration to council is that we are going to actively attempt to pursue any viable means that we can to make this be redeveloped. But we can't risk the loss of that $5 million. And so if we get to the end of the period and there isn't a plan in place, or there aren't proper protections where we feel as though somebody's willing to place a $5 million bond up, which may or may not happen. Somebody may have a great idea, but they don't have the wherewithal, right? I mean, we have that all the time. And those projects typically go poorly. So here, what we're saying is it's too much money, it's too important to the city to walk away from what is essentially going to be a one-time shot here. We have one shot with the state to get this money. We probably will never, ever get it again.
I appreciate that. And I guess just to follow up, like, is this our commitment to the state? Are we telling them in advance that November 21st is our deadline and we will tell them by then? Or is this our deadline for ourselves?
This is all internal. So this is City Council saying, yes, the certificate issues. However, there's going to be a moratorium in place, and the administration is acknowledging to you on the record and in writing now in your legislation that it is affirmatively committing to actively pursuing that redevelopment during that period. So that's what this does, but it is all internal. At the end of the day, we need to be able to satisfy the state separately and make sure that they are, you know, agreeable that we are making substantial progress to receive the money by the end of the year. And that's the deadline that we find ourselves in. It's very difficult this late in the game to really mobilize and start, you know, doing that process. But Mr. Capper I'm sure can speak more to that specific part, but that's the idea.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Brian. Any other questions or comments? All right. So I'll leave it up to the committee. Obviously, there's only 4 of us today to move forward with what they would like to see done. I'll leave it at that. So committee members, we have Councilwoman Boyce, Councilman Hanna, Councilwoman Connor, and myself, and we'll see how they feel about moving forward. So I don't know if there's any motion from any committee members.
I'll make a motion that we let me turn this on, sorry. I'll make a motion that we accept the offer. We go with the 60 days and we get moving. I know it's difficult, but we can't afford to lose this money. We can still continue to work on saving, retaining, and keeping Building 1. This gives us time, but it doesn't halt our progress. You know, it's going to be small baby steps, but at least they'll be forward baby steps.
Second.
Can I clarify that your motion is to suspend the rules with a favorable report?
Of course it is.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a motion and a second by Councilman Hannah. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody oppose? Aye.
Would you like me to do a roll call?
Yeah,
vote on that?
please.
Sure. Kamer,
Nay.
Connor, Boyes,
Aye.
and Hannah.
Aye.
The motion passes 3-1.
So real quick before we move on to our legislation, so the reason I voted no is because I want more of a commitment from the administration in regards to moving forward to exhaust all avenues. Now, this evening, I'll probably support the legislation moving forward, but I cannot support it at the moment as suspension of the rules, if that makes any sense. So, thank you. Moving forward, Sarah, can you move forward and read in the new piece of legislation, please?
Sure. The first item under new legislation is item number 1. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with the Nazareth Housing Development Corporation for the performance of a lead abatement services in support of the Lead Safe Akron program and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. And Mr. Lash, I'll turn it over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. This is this piece of legislation is for our Lead Safe Akron program, which has been awarded to us by Housing and Urban Development. And I have Mr. Doug Taylor, our housing administrator, who will give you an explanation.
Welcome.
Hi. All right, this is for Nazareth to complete 35 units, housing units for the Lead Safe program. I think it's $960,000. Yeah, 980, I'm sorry.
Okay. 980.
Yeah, 980,000.
Extra 20,000. All right, thanks, Doug. Any questions from committee members about this piece of legislation? Any other council members with us today? Okay, Mr. Lash, what is your pleasure? What are you thinking?
If we can suspend the rules, that'd be fine.
Sure.
Sir.
Committee?
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules.
In a second.
I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Well,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. We have a hand raised online. Councilwoman Amobian.
oh, I apologize. Councilwoman, please.
No problem, Mr. Chair. I couldn't get to the gadget fast enough. I'm just curious, have we used these people before, Mr. Taylor?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Have we used this company before?
Oh, yes, well, we put out an RFP for them, and we do business with Nazareth on a regular basis, yes.
Yes, I mean for the lead abatement program, not necessarily. I know they do house repairs for us, but this is their first time doing the lead abatement?
No, they've worked for our program in the previous grants that we had, Lead 3 and Lead 4. This will be Lead 5 for us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, we're going to suspend the rules on that one for this evening. Moving on to the next piece, number 2, please, Sarah.
Item number 2 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with the Well Community Development Corporation for the performance of lead abatement services in support of the Lead Safe Akron program and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Lash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. This is the same, will be for another program partner for our Lead Safe Akron program, and I'm going to ask Mr. Doug Taylor to give an explanation.
Okay, this was the other part of the RFP. We put out for 70 units. We awarded 35 to Nazareth, and 35 to the Well. It'll also be $980,000 for the 4-year program.
All right, thank you. Any questions from committee members? I do see Councilwoman Boyes.
Thank you. Not a question, just a comment. I just want to say thank you for awarding a contract to a community development corporation. This money, because of what they do, will go straight back into the Middlebury and East Akron community. So I think that's a win-win all the way around. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, Mr. Lash, I'll turn it back to you. What are you thinking?
Suspension of the rules, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
committee?
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? All right, we'll move forward this evening and suspend the rules. Our third and final piece, Sarah, please.
Item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Rebuilding Together Northeast Ohio for the performance of relocation services in support of the Lead Safe Akron program and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Lash.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. This is our third installment for our Lead Safe Akron program, and I'm going to ask if Mr. Doug Taylor can give the explanation.
Okay, this was RFP we put out for our relocation services. Rebuilding Together was the best proposal that we had. They will be providing assistance to relocate homeowners to various locations, safe houses, hotels, or with friends or family, which are the options we have. This is about a $720,000 contract that we'll do work with them. That also will be a 4-year contract.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Mr. Lash?
Mr. Chair, we would appreciate suspension of the rules. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Committee?
I'll make the motion to suspend the rules.
A second.
I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Well, that was, we'll suspend all of the rules on those. Thank you for coming down, Doug. I appreciate it, and Mr. Lash. And with that, the planning committee is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next committee today will be the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you. It's 2:00, and our next committee meeting of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'd like to move forward and call the public service meeting to order, please. All members are present, and we do have minutes to approve. If I can get approval, please.
So move.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We do have items on our old agenda that we'll continue taking time on, and we'll move right into the new list of legislation. Our first piece is a resolution declaring it necessary to improve Home Avenue from 100 feet north of Independence Avenue to 900 feet south of Talmadge Avenue by paving, grading, constructing and reconstructing curbs, concrete sidewalks, and driveway approaches, and installing roof drain pipes and declaring emergency. And we have our very own Service Director, Chris Luttle, with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this piece of legislation that's before you is a participatory piece of legislation that we have to sign to get the project going. So what the legislation essentially does is it allows us to start the assessment process. The affecting property owners, whether it's residential or commercial, will receive a notice, and then that will start the process. It takes about 6 weeks to 2 months to fulfill this process, and then we will hold a hearing if there is any objections, and then there will be future legislation with the notice to proceed for the construction, and then the passage of the Assessment Equalization Board. This was obviously in the capital budget. We've talked about it for a while. This is about 0.8 miles of Home Avenue. It starts on the south end of the bridge and it runs north up just north of Independence Avenue. So we're going to remove the concrete pavement and we'll replace it with asphalt. There will be bike lanes added, and there'll also be a center turn lane throughout the project.
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Committee members first. Any questions or questions or comments? Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Luttle, you know I appreciate all work on the roads. I think ever since I was elected, Home Avenue, I get a call on that, you know, when's that going to be fixed? And Talmadge Avenue, and it goes on and on. So again, I mean, it definitely, the concrete there, especially by the asphalt plant, is just so bad. So I appreciate the wanting to fix, but it's how we're going to fix it. That's what I don't agree with. I just feel that, you know, I could say Akron residents, Akron drivers, whatever, my constituents, I just feel we're being boxed in with the road design. If I'm standing in the heart of North Hill and I'm looking north, Caldwell Falls Avenue, once it's restriped and resurfaced, will be one lane. Again, if I'm standing in the heart of North Hill, to the west of me, that's Main Street. We've already talked about that, and you know what's going on there. And now, the east border, which I am calling Home Avenue there, again, the lane restrictions. I just, you know, in light of, and I know you can't do this when there's nothing else going on. You know, it's all about maybe these grants that we're only going to get for so long. So I get that, but there is a lot going on, including Route 8 and so on and so forth. So again, I just agree with fixing it. I just disagree with the manner on how the design is going to, and the traffic is going to flow. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we don't see any. Chris, what are you looking at doing with this?
Consent's fine, sir.
Consent's okay? All right, committee.
So move for consent.
Second.
All right, all in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nay.
All right, do a roll call just for the record, Sarah, please.
Sure. Kamer,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
DeShazier,
Aye.
Bolden,
Aye.
Lombardo.
Nay.
The motion passes 4-1.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, moving on to our next piece, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for construction and installation of advanced metering infrastructure and declaring an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. We have talked about our water meter replacement program for a couple of years now. We have ended the contract with UMS. They were contracted to install all of our meters. We're down to the last 4,000, so out of 85,000, about 81,000 have been installed. The contract has expired. So we've made a decision to bring these in-house and manage the last 4,000. And a lot of these are kind of whether it's been difficult to reach the homeowner, maybe some people that leave for the winter, finished basements. So we are actually, this legislation will allow us to bid, award a contract to a company that could manage this last 4,000, and we will manage the inspection and get this project done. As we talked about, the new billing system will come in next year, hopefully first quarter. So this will line up with that. So a few of these are large meters that were not completed, but the majority of these 4,000 are residential meters that we'll be replacing.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? Any other council members with us? All right, I don't see any. Oh, Councilwoman Omobian.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's amazing work, Mr. Luddle. What I'm curious about, if we can't reach these homeowners or owners, is there going to be a deadline? Is there any type of penalty for not being able to get it done, or will they have a higher rate, or what would happen, if anything?
Well, one of the tools that we've used, Councilwoman, that's a great question, is we will attempt to call them with the contact information we have. If we get no response, we'll actually physically go out and put a tag that they need to contact us, similar to other utilities do. If they don't respond to the tag, we'll drop another tag. And if that doesn't work, we'll give them a 48-hour shut-off notice. And what has happened in the past, if we get to that last step and we turn somebody's water off, they amazingly call us back. And then we get in there and put the new meter in.
Well, okay. Amazing work, like the lining of what are those pipes called, or whatever?
Lead services.
So you're just redoing our whole city, huh?
Well, we don't typically have too much trouble with the lead service communication. It's the water meter that we've had some problem reaching the customers.
Upgrading everything, which is
Yes, and if there are a few lead services in the meter, we do it at the same time. We don't have to schedule 2 appointments, so we are conscious of that.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
Thank you for the job. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, Chris, what are you looking at doing with this piece?
You know, sir, could we suspend the rules, because I really want to get this bid and get this project going.
Sure. Committee?
I'll make the motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, Chris, we'll suspend the rules on that piece this evening.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next one, number 6, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for improvements to the City of Akron water plant and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, as we have done in the past, we try to take a couple projects within our budget and do upgrades at our water plant. This year, there's 2 specific projects. The first is the West Chemical Building. That will be a roof replacement of that building. The roof on that chemical building is 20-plus years old, and it has exceeded its useful life. It's shown some deterioration, and we're getting some leaks. And then the second project is our sediment basins 3 and 4. where we will replace the chain and flight sludge collection system. The existing system in Basin 3 and the 1 and 4 are there's just ongoing maintenance where these things break constantly, so we want to upgrade. And we've done this in the past in our sludge basins 1 and 2. So this is just sludge basin 3 and 4, and what that does is that, you know, there's a guide on the bottom of the tank that pushes all that sludge, and then it's removed out of the system, and then we process that sludge, and it goes to a beneficial reuse. That sludge does not go to a landfill. We have drying basins, and then we have a contract with a company that takes that sludge and then dries it, and then they mix it with topsoil, and then it's like I said, a beneficial reuse instead of just taking it. Some places incinerate the sludge, some places take that sludge and take it to landfills, which we do not do.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, any questions or comments about this one for Chris Lettle? No? Anyone? Okay. Chris, what do you think? Consent's okay?
Consent's fine.
Okay.
I'll
Committee?
move for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, thank you, everyone. All right, moving on to the next one is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids, requesting and receiving requests for proposals, RFPs, requesting and receiving quotes, and/or self-performing work for rehabilitative construction of the city's salt storage facilities and declaring an emergency. Chris.
So two of our largest salt storage facilities, one is at Triplet, which is our municipal service center, and then the other one is Copley Road. As you're driving on Copley Road, or 77, I should say, you could see it off the expressway there by the ball fields. Both of these salt storage areas, Copley Road holds about 18,000 tons, and the one at municipal service holds over 20,000 tons. The one at Municipal Service Center is over 20 years old. We've had failing portions of that in the recent years where it's deemed we cannot fill it. So what we're proposing here is to replace both structures, one at Copley Road and one at Triplet, with an 18,000 ton capacity salt dome. And these are considerably easier to maintain. Both of these structures that we currently have, we're putting between $75,000 and $100,000 every year in just the maintenance of the roofs. The new ones are, I think you're all familiar with, are the concrete super block on the side, then it has the fabric structure on top. Those come with a 25-year warranty, and this legislation will cover both of those. We just had a failure of one of the roof sections at Copley Road where a side blew out, which we're going to get it through the winter if we have to, but what we'd like to do is get these new two structures constructed at least by just after Thanksgiving. So this legislation will allow us to do that. We brought you legislation, I don't know how long ago, maybe 6 months ago, about adding another salt dome at Ira Road where we own property where we're processing some of our mulch. And that one's going to be real important because right now, if you're in a snow event and you're in the Kenmore neighborhood, let's say down by Nesbith Lake, and you need salt, you have to travel all the way to Triplet. That's the closest salt dome we have, or you'd have to go to Copley Road. Both of them are well over 5 miles, I think Triplet's actually almost 8 miles away. And by putting the one at Ira, it's going to shorten that travel distance by half. So having more salt domes and having easier to load in and out is going to make our whole operation more efficient. We are going to do this year, since I'm talking about snow removal, is add a lot of our more brine to be a lot more pre-treating, be more proactive before the storm hits. And once these systems are up, I'd love for any of you to come out and tour the facility and see some of the new things we're doing to be more efficient. So it could help you as you're getting questions during a snow event of some of the things that we're doing. But this legislation will allow us to purchase these new two domes. We will do some of the prep work on the site because we have to build these and keep the other ones in operation, especially if we get a snow event earlier this year. So the plan is to use all the salt up in the old dome and then just start using the new dome.
All right, thank you, Chris. Committee members, Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you. Apologize in advance, I don't know directions too well, so the salt domes, these two, they're going to go in the same spot?
Same footprint of land.
Same footprint of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. And so and I know you started about the Ira Road thing, and is that in a good location? Like, what about maybe in 2 years, maybe we could put something in the budget for a fourth one? It just seems like, 4 is better than 3, but
We do have
situated, right?
other domes. I should have mentioned that.
Pardon me?
We have other salt storage facilities. We have one at Evans Avenue. Okay, we have one right there, which since we've put the bridge over the tracks has made that more efficient. That was always kind of, you get there and you got a train, right? Now that we've put the new bridge in, that's taken that out of effect.
Okay.
And then the other salt dome we have down is WRF, our wastewater plant. It's not a real big one, but in a snow event, when you're in the valley and all the hills, it's a lot easier just to go there, grab a load of salt, and then we have to get that refilled. So we do have other domes, but these are our 2 largest.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't
so we have
understand.
one north, south, east, and west, but adding that one in the middle, because where I say Ira Road, that is when you take Old South Main, and instead of going up by Firestone, you take Old South Main around the tracks there, and it dumps you right there where Kenmore Boulevard and Ira Road come together. We have a yard there that we're going to put a salt dome.
Okay.
And that's going to help that part of the neighborhood, the Summit Lake and like I said, the Kenmore neighborhood.
Okay. All right, I understand now. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments? Suspension of the rules okay on this one?
I would appreciate it, sir.
So
All right.
moved.
Second.
All in favor of suspension of rules, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll suspend the rules on this one. All right, we're moving on to our last final piece of the day. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a participatory agreement or agreements with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the construction of road resurfacing and paving of Vernon Odom Boulevard and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, exactly what you said. This is just a participatory agreement. ODOT needs this piece of legislation passed before they can move on with the project. This project will not happen till next year, but they need this to put their funding in place. And this allows them to perform work inside the city of Akron on state routes, which is 261. So this is 8.3 miles of resurfacing, but only about 3 are in the city of Akron. So you have the piece on V. Odom, Rhodes Avenue, just going to the west, and then you have another short piece up by Roaming Road, which is in the city of Akron, just to the Corp line, and then it churns, then it's outside the city. They're actually paving all the way out to Norton, but it's just our portion that we're responsible for. So we have a match, and it'll be in the capital budget for next year, but we're gonna use IT4 for about 300,000 of it, and 140 will be special assessments. But there was safety money in there. There's other funding sources, but ODOT is going to manage the project. They're going to bid the project. They're going to handle the whole project here in the city.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments about this? Nothing? All right. Consent okay? Committee, please.
Motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you, and we are adjourned.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet in regular session at 6:30. Thank you.